Hanaina ora, my dear Ælis enthusiasts, and welcome to the 43rd video in this series. Over the course of the previous videos, I've repeated quite a few times
how Ælis can have a free word order. The individual words do not have a fixed word order. Because Ælis doesn't have a fixed word order, since there are absolutely no rules for word order, you can move them around freely according to your preference. Words can be arranged in any possible way. We're free to switch the position of any of the words without changing the meaning of the sentence. Word order is also free.
I think you get the gist. Word order is not a relevant factor in the Ælis language. Then again...
How about we switch the word order? Playing around with the word order. We can play with the word order for subtle differences. If you reverse the word order with a different word order for emphasis.
So, have a guess what we'll be talking about today. That's right. Oh, excuse me, I'd almost forget that word order is a thing in other languages. There we go. So the topic of word order was first brought to your attention in video number 10 of the series, where I explained that with 4 word types in Ælis, and assuming a sentence where each of them appears only once, there are 24 basic ways of arranging them. Semantically, all sentences mean the same. All of them are grammatically allowed. There are no rules. So what is it then? Is it not important? Well, the fact that Ælis syntax doesn't command a certain arrangement of words in order for it to be grammatical gives us some unused space that we can fill up. Word order is a relevant factor in Ælis, and today we'll zoom in on how it works exactly. You may have guessed it, but the keyword is emphasis. To make things a little bit easier for ourselves, let's leave the modifier out for the time being. We'll focus primarily on the syntactic functions of topic, agent, and patient, as these are the primary arguments involved in conveying the dynamics of the utterance and the mutual relations within it. With only these 3 arguments, there are 6 arrangements that a sentence could have: topic, agent, patient, topic, patient, agent, agent, topic, patient, agent, patient, topic, patient, topic, agent, and patient, agent, topic. Out of these 6 arrangements, the latter one can be seen as the default syntactic structure of Ælis. A sentence where the words are arranged like this produces the most plain outcome. There is no particular focus within this sentence, or in other words, the focus is neutral. Let's have a look at an example sentence. Ia eni la aima ha eg Ælis. To you, by me, Ælis speech. In proper English, I speak Ælis to you. Now, in this sentence, the first word is the patient. This means that while the focus of the sentence is neutral, the tone of the utterance is stative. Ælis is an active stative language, which means that there is a principal distinction between whether sentences express either a stable, uneventful situation or an activity, an event with some form of progression in it. So the energy or dynamic in this sentence is static, and the mood is rather passive than active. As such, a more linear translation would be, "You're being spoken Ælis to by me." Now we can alter this dynamic by changing the word order. If we put the agent up front, then the tone or mood of the sentence will become more active. I am speaking Ælis to you. While a stative or static tone presents the utterance kind of like you're observing the scene from a third-person perspective, an active tone focuses more on the act of speaking as a process that requires energy and that has one or more participants contributing to it. The difference between these 2 arrangements is very subtle, and it would be the equivalent of switching between the active and passive voice in English. Now, if we decide to place the topic up front, we're going to create emphasis where there previously wasn't any. This emphasis is on the topic. Since the patient still precedes the agent, the tone is stative or passive. Speaking Ælis is what you're done to by me, something like that. If we let the agent precede the patient, then the sauce we pour over the sentence will become active again. Speaking Ælis is what I'm doing to you. In all of the cases so far, the agent and the patient have been juxtaposed. We can direct special attention to any of them by breaking them up. With this arrangement, the agent will become the focus of the sentence. The tone is active. It is me speaking Ælis to you. Or also, I am speaking Ælis and you hear it. If we swap the positions of agent and patient, we'll get a patient focus in a sentence with a stative mood. You hear Ælis being spoken, and it so happens to be me speaking. But who the speaker is less important than who the listener is. A sentence with a patient focus will logically always have a stative tone, and an agent focus will produce an active tone. Now let's look at an example that I assume will speak to your intuition. Ia aima hare bins. My name is Bins. Ne? What? Hare bins ia aima. Bins is my name. The focus of the first sentence is neutral, but because person B didn't quite catch what was said, person A will shift the focus in the second sentence for extra clarity. Bins is what my name is. Because both sentences do not have an agent, the tone is stative by default. Now let's look at what happens when we have more than one of the same syntactic argument in a sentence. We can do interesting things with that too. For example, Lia mare Peter, lia nire Selma HNT. Peter and Selma watch a bird. Again, the two people are mentioned one after the other, and therefore there is no particular focus on any of the words. But if we break them up and put Selma at the back, for example, then we'll shift the focus and take away some of it from Selma, leaving the primary arguments in the sentence to be Peter and the bird watching. This has consequences for the way we want to interpret and translate the sentence. Peter watches a bird, and so does Selma. This is another suitable opportunity to show you how the separator can be used for negation. Lia mare Peter HNT ta lia nire Selma means Peter watches the bird, but Selma doesn't. Let's make a new sentence, but with 4 arguments this time. Ia nire Selma, ia mare Peter, la aima ha eg Ælis. Selma and Peter hear me speak Ælis. The fact that I'm speaking it to them is implied. Ia nire Selma, ia mare Peter, la aima ha eg Ælis. I speak Ælis to Selma and Peter. Okay? So let's now put Peter at the back of the sentence, and the interpretation and translation change quite a bit. Selma hears me speak Ælis to Peter. As you can see, word order does play a role in Ælis, and we haven't even spoken about the 4th possible element in a sentence, the modifier. Usually, the modifier goes either at the front of a sentence or all the way at the back of it. This produces a neutral output, which we can compare to English quite directly. For example, the sentences "Today I'm speaking Ælis" and "I am speaking Ælis today" are both pretty neutral. If we put the adverbial "today" in any other spot, neglecting for a second whether these sentences are grammatically valid or not, you see that the utterance becomes charged somehow. The unexpected word order creates a different tone, a different dynamic in the sentence. This is the same for Ælis, with the only difference that any arrangement is, in fact, grammatically correct. So, in summary, word order is free. And what that means is that any given order of words in an Ælis sentence is grammatically valid, and that the syntax doesn't prescribe a particular order to be respected. This doesn't mean that the word order is irrelevant. As the examples in this and previous videos have shown, word order is a tool that you can use to add some extra flavor to a sentence. If Ælis were like ice cream, then the words you choose are like the difference between vanilla or strawberry ice cream. The word order, then, is like deciding whether you put chocolate or disco sprinkles on top. And with that, we've shone a light on yet another aspect of the language. I hope you learned something new, had fun doing so, and are eager for more. Feel free to contact me with any questions, remarks, or suggestions you might have, and if you don't want to miss out on future uploads in this series, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next episode.